changed the presidential election, and it
No,
railroaded him.
a
And
man named Joe Rogan stomped a mud hole in basically anybody who thinks otherwise. So,
people get old. All right, guys, we're gonna bring back a favorite. Unfortunately, Jimmy, like I said, I didn't get to set up the show fast enough, so we're gonna
all
do
right,
this without the cue cards. But I'm gonna ask you. We're doing a very strange head-to-head this week.
okay,
It's going to be friend of the show, rock and roller Marty Jannetty
wow.
against all-time favorite Sergeant Slaughter.
First of all, before we go deeper, how did you come up with this particular matchup? I gotta know.
So I was thinking about Slaughter, really, to tell the truth. And I was thinking about where does Slaughter rank? And again, guys, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about wrestling, but for the show, I spend time. And I said, where does Slaughter rank in the all-time greats? And again, it doesn't matter where it does. Everybody has their own list. You can't change, and you know what? You can't tell people what they like and don't like. Sergeant Slaughter to me at some points was this incredible star, and then some points was fucking annoying to me. Right? It's a weird thing with me. But anyway,
Hmm.
I digress. I said, we're gonna do a head to head, and I want to do one with Slaughter because Slaughter to me is an iconic figure. I would say at bare minimum he's in the top 60 professional wrestlers of all time, and that's no knock on him at all. 60 is pretty good. And I might even be giving him a break because you might be able to name 60 better wrestlers than him. But let's just call him top 60. And I said, this guy has wrestled everybody from Don Canoodle to fucking Hulk Hogan to the Ultimate Warrior to the Iron Sheik and on and on and on. I think you'd be hard pressed not to find a wrestler Sergeant Slaughter has wrestled once or twice throughout his career. So I said, let me pick another star who you could almost give that same top 60 to. Maybe. I don't know. This is what head to head's about. So I said, fuck, Marty Jannetty. And that's where we're at. Did I make sense? I don't know, but that's how it came about.
Okay, and let me hammer home real fast that there would not be a show if it wasn't for the fact that at a junior high bus stop in 1981, Mike came over and started asking me about wrestling, and the first wrestler that Mike Monty fell in love with was Sergeant Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
We would not have this show. I'm convinced that, well, first of all, we wouldn't have the show if we don't have that conversation to start with. But without Sergeant Slaughter, you see, you needed a spark. Just like I discovered a spark when I first started watching. I was like, I gravitated towards somebody. You got to, and you gravitated towards Slaughter. So I'm still amazed. Why have we never had Sergeant Slaughter on? Has it just been timing, or
So
is it
Sergeant Slaughter, uh, this is a good question. Sergeant Slaughter still connected to the WWE in a way, and um,
okay? I kind of answered you.
him and Jimmy Hart both are very weary of going on podcasts.
Okay, all right. Well, at least I have an idea of what's going on. At least Jimmy did a promo with us way back. You remember that, right?
Jimmy's a good guy,
Yeah,
but
we've
the
seen him a few
reason they
times.
don't go on is they don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to get. They don't want to get. Look, we started the show early talking about Allison Kay not liking our titles on the show. She thought it was
Right.
clickbait. Okay,
Right.
so
We're
Sergeant
the Howard
Slaughter and
Stern of
Jimmy.
wrestling, Mike. This
I
is. I
got you,
guess that's
but
what you.
Sergeant Slaughter and
I
Jimmy
guess that's what you're
Hart don't
saying.
want to be put in that predicament. Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Do I want one day to have Sergeant Slaughter on? Fuck yeah, bro.
Oh my God, yeah.
That
This
interview would
is
be purely wrestling. There wouldn't even be any political
this is a
conversation or anything like that.
very this is a very very interesting fucking matchup. This is
I
very
will
interesting.
also say this. I do enjoy. Listen, one thing about this show is wrestlers get to talk about things that they don't get to talk about on podcasts.
Right.
Because to us, Jimmy, like I said, we've said this before. We decided a long time ago we wanted to hear what these guys think.
Yeah, we want to
Everybody
know the
could
people.
find it. Yeah, we want to know the people. We want to know where they're coming from with, and it's
Right.
tied. It all ties into wrestling, but they also
Right.
ties into their thoughts. But
And
anyway,
we've also asked some pretty key wrestling questions. I mean, the Tony Atlas eyewitness
Sure.
account of Bruiser Brody as one of our
Right.
most successful. It's not
Right.
like we don't. Of course we do, but we want to know at the end of the day not just what you did as a wrestler, but more importantly, who are you as a person?
And by the way, Tony returns back to our second annual Christmas Monte The Pharaoh special on the 21st or the 20th, I think. All right. So anyway, Jimmy, for the best of your ability, I'm sorry I don't have the cue cards. Can you tell people the rules of head-to-head to the best of your ability? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're not putting me on the spot.
By the way, before you do that, I did want to say one thing. Guys out there watching, one of the biggest misses I thought the WWE had was when, what do you call it? Lacey? Yeah, when she was doing the Cobra Clutch Challenge.
Yeah,
they could have really went far with that, Jimmy. They fucking blew that, bro. They blew that so bad.
She had one of the strangest careers ever when you think about it. Her first year, she was a trajectory to be a star, and then just poof. That was a strange one.
You're 100% right.
All right, let's get to the category, shall we? Category number one is Mike skills without the place cards. How you do on the magic mic there, or am I magically disappearing to the John? We got mat skills. Like Jerry Lynn's coming on. Need I say more? Can you get it done in the ring? Category 3, back of the baseball card. Yep, it matters. It still matters at the end of the day. Oh, but it's scripted. I want to know what you did and what you didn't do. Thank you. It factor. Well, it's better than the shit factor. Don't make me turn to Me Television tonight to watch Patty Duke reruns. What are you doing? I mean, like Patty Duke? What the? I didn't even. That's not even my grandparents' show. What the fuck?
People who haven't seen head to head, Jimmy, like what would be a wrestler with the it factor?
Hogan, Austin, Taker, not Jack Swagger. You with me?
Understood.
All right, there we go. That's it factor. It's better than shit factor. And then, of course, category 5, probably in many ways, it could be the most important thing of all, your influence on the industry. Whoa. There you go.
If you go to Monte The Pharaoh channel, there is a Bruno Sammartino against Jerry Lawler.
Yes.
And shockingly at the words, but the fact is Jerry Lawler beat Sammartino and almost handily, Jimmy. And almost handily did it.
Was it 3 out of the 5?
3 out of the 5. To me, that's handily, right?
He got handily to me is 4-1. 3 out of 5 means you took it to the limit, but you won. You know what I mean? It's like 5 games in baseball.
Fair enough.
So, but hey, it was a good matchup. But we were surprised that Jerry Lawler won, but he did win. He did, and if we did it again, he'd probably win again, one way or the other. Those cases are closed. Those careers are done. Just
Agreed.
Like these two. So let's see what we got.
All right, we're going to talk Mike skills, Jimmy.
Mike skills.
Sergeant Slaughter or
Mike
Marty Jannetty. Mike skills.
Well, to me, it's pretty obvious. I'd much rather listen to Sergeant Slaughter on the microphone. For sure. I mean, for sure. Slaughter was what a great voice too. What was that gargle? He gargled with nails when he talked.
Let me ask you though: was Slaughter a guy that could make you come to the arena?
The character alone could. It didn't hurt that he was a good talker. How's that?
Fair enough.
The character alone could. Look, Sergeant Slaughter got me to the Comac Arena 2 or 3 times. He fought Backlund in the main event. I think he fought Andre one night in the main event at the Comac Arena. I was there to see Slaughter. I was there to see Andre too, obviously, but Slaughter was definitely a wonderful opponent. Come on. That's a good match back in those days.
I'm going to agree with you. Sergeant Slaughter just isn't just better than Marty Jannetty. He pisses all over Marty Jannetty.
On Mike?
In fact, I would say that I'm a big fan of the mic skill.
I thought it was great.
That was some of Marty Jannetty's downfall. He was not a good stick man. He just
didn't
wasn't.
Have it that way. No, it didn't have it that way. But oddly enough, Marty's a great talker.
Mind you, where the WWE might have missed out on this if they would have had the drunken, drugged out Marty Jannetty as the character, it would have been funny.
If they had turned him loose a little bit, but kept it good for public television.
Well, what if they kept it like he was always drugged out of his mind? I know they probably couldn't play it, but it would have been great.
If they could have played it, in other words, during the Attitude Era, you might have been able to do it.
Yeah. And he was still wrestling back then. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we got Sergeant Slaughter winning on the mic skills. What's up next?
We got match skills, and this is like the opposite. Although surprisingly enough, Slaughter had a few moves, not many, but he had a few. But you're not going to compare him to Marty Jannetty in the ring. Marty Jannetty was part of a whole thing that we might have to get to in these later categories to talk about. But Marty is what? Come on, no way. Marty has got this one hands down the way Slaughter had the other category hands down. This is Marty's.
Well, I'll say Bob Cook's known for his working punch. Marty Jannetty had a hell of a working punch, man, for sure. Right?
You're killing me. Is Mitch out there? Is that why you're saying this? What's going
I
on?
know. I don't know if he is, but on a serious note, Marty could throw a good
Yeah.
punch.
Well, we all know that he could throw a good punch, Mike.
Yeah. What are you saying, Jimmy?
I'm saying if anybody knows, it's you. And you know what? I remember the whole thing, and most importantly, when it was going down. Whoa.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah. Whoa.
All right, so we got Marty Jannetty. We're up tied 1-1. I agree with you 100%, sir. You are right on the money.
Yep.
Next up.
Back to the baseball card. Slaughter. Hey, you can't take it away. One way or the other, the guy was world champion, and he held some important, other titles around the country, around the globe, and whatever. Look,
Listen,
at the end of the day,
world champion, America's champion AWA, world tag team champion in the
Slaughter.
NWA. It's
Slaughter.
not even close. This is a blowout, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's Slaughter. He's got him. He's definitely got him the same way he had him in Mike's skills. So the big Sarge is up
2-1.
2-1. Sarge had some. Actually, no. Sarge is up 2-1. Sarge had some decent moves though. Do you remember the few that he did do? Didn't Slaughter actually throw a fucking drop kick?
He did. He did. He did.
He threw. He did the fireman's carry. He did the hook, and he did some stuff.
Hey, one thing we don't talk about too, Jimmy, is like selling is part of the art too. We never talk about how well people sold.
Oh, Slaughter sold the alley fight.
Oh, come on.
I thought the poor man had been murdered and we'd never see him again. I was like, oh my God, he killed him wearing those jeans and that T-shirt was
agreed.
And we didn't even know that. Pat didn't even. Oh my God.
We talk about old wrestling, Jimmy, and how bad it could be if you really turn it on. Like, I laugh when older guys like ourselves say, oh man, I went and watched Tommy Rich against Buzz Sawyer in the last fight in Atlanta. That fucking match sucked. It did. It sucked. And, back then it was like you wanted to see it, but it's like when you watch it, you're like, this fucking sucked. But I will tell you this, the alley fight still holds up.
Oh.
Slaughter could put himself into a post like no other, man.
Slaughter also managed during that time period where it culminated with that fight where he just spewed so much hatred out of the crowd. He was so hated.
Dude, are we trying to say that maybe Slaughter gets the mat skills over Marty?
No,
are we changing that?
No, we're not trying to say that because that goes into whether mat skills are not about. Then we would have to come up with another category on salesmanship.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, because salesmanship is a whole nother story. For example, one of the greatest guys that ever took a punch was superstar Billy Graham.
Can't argue that, man.
My God, this
Graham
guy
could sell like crazy.
Sold a punch like, and then we would have to give the worst punch thrown of all time to John Moxley.
Terrible. So funny.
It's
so
amazing
bad.
to me that it's just amazing how bad they are. But you know what? I'm going to be fair. When Stone Cold did throw a good punch, looked fantastic. When Stone Cold would jump on top and do those rabbit hits, that looked ridiculous.
He would kind of flap the hand open, but
it was like what? Wait, whoa.
Dude, what's so funny? In the Attitude Era, I never sat back and even noticed botches at all. Now I spot botches all the time.
I've always noticed botches.
But it didn't bother me. But now it's like, oh, that's awful. Like sometimes these women are. I love women's wrestling, but they're so far off on their shots. It's like, oof, this is bad.
I have a very hard time still. I only will watch the women on the true payoff matches because then I hope that I'm getting what I expect.
Right.
Because a lot of the mid-card fluff and whatever, the ones that bring it up are just so god awful.
But then sometimes you get gold like Maxine against Becky Lynch 2 times in a
Right,
row. By the way,
right. And you know what I'll say to that? If Maxine goes right back when she's not working with Becky, if she goes right back to whatever she was in the ring before that,
yeah.
I'll say to her what Gene Simmons said to Peter Chris. Congratulations. You wrote Beth. Great job. What have you done with your other 99 at bats?
That's good points. Good points.
Gene could say that to him. Gene and Paul wrote a kabillion hits, so he could say that
All
to
right, so we
him.
got 2-1. What's the next category, my friend?
With Slaughter in the lead, correct? All right, so we
Yep.
go on to It Factor. I don't even think this is a contest. It's
Yeah, this
Sergeant
is a
Slaughter.
blowout. Not surprisingly, but it's a blowout.
It's
Yeah.
Sergeant Slaughter. The It Factor is look at that. How are you not paying attention to
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the jawbone is almost as imposing as the.
Isn't it almost funny that he used to have a different gimmick before this? Like, I can't imagine that guy being anything but Sergeant Slaughter
Right,
with that chin and everything else. You know what I
right.
mean?
You might as well say, what the fuck do you mean? Hulk Hogan was a bass player in a band?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
like, what are you talking
Exactly.
about? Anything that's not that man being Sergeant Slaughter just doesn't fit at all. He's such a natural. Look at that jawbone. It's almost as imposing as that AI Pharaoh jawbone that your fucking AI gives me.
Hey, listen, don't get mad at AI. All right, last category, 3-1 right now. Slaughter. It's over, but let's see if we could at least have a Toronto Blue Jay comeback.
Well, here's where it gets interesting.
Oof!
Influence
I want to hear this one, man. I want to hear this
influence
one.
on the industry. No, because I'm going to ask you to go first, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking about this, and see if there's any sanity in
Well,
what I'm
let's
trying
see
to
how
do.
well I know my part. Let me see how
Influence
well I know my partner.
influence on the
All
industry.
of a sudden, on the cover of it all, it says Sergeant Slaughter, right? WrestleMania, the Cobra Clutch Challenge, the Alley Fight, GI Joe. The list is long. But
Yes.
then now I'm thinking my partner's got a rabbit in the hat. So now I'm saying, okay, so Marty Jannetty, what's the influence on the industry? Well, after Marty's career is over, maybe his influence on the industry has even grown, considering all the podcasts he's done, all the stories that have been written about him with all the issues. Um, he also accidentally crippled a guy in the ring. Um, on and on and on. I'm still going to go with Sergeant Slaughter, Jimmy, but if I'm thinking that's where you're going, I see where you think it's close. I could be totally off, but go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay. Here's the only thing I'm going to ask you before I even make an answer definitively.
Sure.
Sergeant Slaughter's type of character is no more. They don't do it anymore.
Right.
They don't. There's no more of these ethnic backgrounds and USA to the rescue and all this other stuff.
Sure.
It's gone. It's gone. They don't do it anymore. Cobra Clutch Challenge, challenges in general. The last time you'd have to go back almost 20 years to our fine guest with the Master Lock.
We'd
In
have to go to
general,
Monte The Pharaoh to see the last challenge when
yeah.
Jimmy
In
attempted to get
general,
out of the Master
in,
Lock.
in general, they're gone. Okay, so as far as action figures go, GI Joe really fallen to the wayside, and action figures were made huge through Hogan and the rest of them. So I don't give that to Slaughter. It's gone.
Mm.
Okay. Now here's the interesting weird
So
thing.
you're trying to say, as
No,
much as we think
um,
that Slaughter influenced the industry, everything he's done is no longer. So go
it's
ahead.
no longer because of the type of character he was and the things that he excelled at. They don't do anymore.
Right.
I've just pointed these things out, right? You agree with what I've said so far, right?
You know what?
Okay.
I see. I love where you're going with this because it's
Okay.
very intelligent.
Here's where things get really interesting. If it wasn't for teams like obviously the Rock and Roll Express and the Rockers, you don't get a Hardy Boys. You don't get all the aerial things that teams like the Rockers became known for. That style of wrestling is the style of wrestling we see today in the ring. So Marty Jannetty is one of the prototypes and pioneers of the aerial style that you and I were never wanting to see first and foremost. We grew up on power, but that doesn't matter here. What matters here is that the Rockers and Marty's style of wrestling opened the door for people like the Hardy Boys and the Young Bucks. You wouldn't have the Young Bucks without the Rockers and the Rock and Roll Express and guys like that during that time period. So the weird thing, you're actually adding to my potential decision to choose Marty by mentioning that in post career, Marty has blown Slaughter out of the water. Whether his wackiness is irrelevant or not, it's been irrelevant. People have talked about Marty big time post career in comparison to Sarge. And then there's this footprint in the ring that his style of wrestling has left that is still so prominent today. So here's the weird answer, I guess. True influence on the industry that we see today? Marty Jannetty.
Jimmy, you have swung me. I'm going with Marty Jannetty. I can't argue that point. You're 100% right.
Bizarre.
You are 100% right. It's Marty Jannetty, and it's Marty Jannetty by a blowout, the way you just explained that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And you know what, too? You can't take away the E in entertainment either. The Rockers were fucking entertaining.
Well, you know what? Listen, you explained it. The industry is leaned way heavy towards Marty Jannetty than it would have Sergeant Slaughter.
Absolutely.
And, goes back to, Lacey. It didn't work, even though I wanted it to work. Right. History shows it didn't work. Yeah. So you're right, dude.
And that style that Marty was perfecting, he was perfecting it with Shawn. Shawn becomes before AJ Styles. Don't you see how this all goes? It's like, this whole aerial style is cemented by Shawn Michaels as far as the individual guy. Then there's AJ. Then there's the Kenny Omegas, whether you love them or hate them. These are the guys. And you have to go back to the Rockers. So Marty's thumbprints are all over this shit.
100% right. Well,
but Sarge still wins.
But Sergeant Slaughter is still champion.
He is.
Well done, Sarge.
It makes
iconic
sense too.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Yep.
But
it makes sense.
A lot after you said that, I'd almost think Marty winning that last category. If we weighted the categories, Marty could win. If you weighted it. Because overall influence in the industry is the most important part, right?
It is. Said that when I was reading them out in the beginning, the categories, and it stands true. It's the most important one. That's why Hogan is Hogan. I was watching a documentary on Austin last night, and do you realize, I mean, I know we all realize, but to hear it again, hammered home that really, we only really had Stone Cold for 98 and 99. In 2000, he's hurt. In 2001, WrestleMania comes around and he turns. So we only really had the glass crashing, psychotic, oh my God, it's Stone Cold for like 2 years. It's amazing to me. The influence that Hogan did, what was it, 9 straight WrestleManias?
Well, I thought I heard a podcast to say, Hogan was hot for like 3 or 4 years. No, dude, Hogan was.
Oh, no, he wasn't.
Hogan was, what was he in the WWE a year before the first WrestleMania? So now you're talking 2 years, and he main evented all the way to WrestleMania 7.
Hogan was the #1 draw from the moment they put the strap in this business. The moment they put the strap on him the first time, all the way past the NWO turn. You can say whatever you want. He's the #1 draw. And the NWO thing occurs in 96. So we've already jumped 13 full years where he is the #1 draw in professional wrestling, period. Right? And then it takes, another year or two before they self-implode. So you're looking at about 15 years where you can confidently say he's the biggest money man. Ric Flair said it 1,000 times. Hulk Hogan is the greatest wrestler that ever lived because he's the one who did that. Who made
the most money. Yeah, sure.
Flair's not, he said the most over is obviously Austin. But he said the Hogan's got the fucking track record.
Well, are you going to tell me that you think Austin was more over than Hogan in Hogan's heyday?
And no, I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is this. I will say this. The loudest pop, and it's well known anyway, but it's true. The loudest pop I ever heard was January 4th of 1999 when Austin's glass crashed and he came out to help Cactus Jack win the world, Mankind win the world championship for the first time. When that glass crashes, That crowd. I've
Listen,
never heard
still to this
anything
day,
like
when
that.
that glass crashes, you get
It's always
goosebumps.
huge,
You just
but
get
that
goosebumps.
night, go back and look at that night, and the raw. You can barely hear his theme as he comes down. You could barely hear it. It's like,
Well,
oh
let's
my
be,
god,
this is where we should always talk about the players,
I'm
though.
still not holding.
You had Mick Foley hot off of being thrown off the top of a cage.
It was Austin though
And
coming out, man.
no, but I understand that. But it's
Yeah.
also you had The Rock, who was at the point everybody just fucking hated that guy, right?
It was a perfect storm. The circumstances. That's what you're getting at, right? The
And yeah,
circumstances definitely
and it was
perfect
just
storm.
like it was fucking unbelievable, dude.
Perfect storm. You know what was
Good.
another huge pop people forget about when Warrior made the Mad Russian honky
Oh
tonk
my
at the
god.
Garden.
Oh my god, that was so fucking great,
When the
dude.
music hit, I'll fight
That was
anybody.
so great.
Ooh.
My god.
Boom. Oh my god, man! What a reaction.
And you know what? Give Honky Tonk Man tons of credit. He took those fucking clotheslines like a champ. It was fucking great, dude.
It
He
looked
couldn't
like he
even
had
get his
murdered him.
jumpsuit off. He's trying to get it. That's what, as sometimes
little
as bad
things.
as wrestling was back then,
Yeah.
the stuff that they did in between that is the incredible stuff.
Does Vince McMahon get any credit for taking on the surface what looks to be like the most ridiculous gimmick you've ever heard of? You're going to give a guy who doesn't even have an overly wrestling impressive physique, let's be real, and we're going to make him look like Elvis, and he's going to swivel his hips, and he's going to come out with a guy with a megaphone, but he believed in this character and leave the belt on him for over a year. That reign was.
And there's not one person watching this show right now that can't sing the Honky Tonk Man's theme song.
Any credit for Vince McMahon coming up with like, okay, let's do that. Let's push that to the fucking moon. Any credit for that?
I think people when it's all said and done, people realize Vince McMahon, if he was a baseball player, would be the Babe Ruth. The guy's hitting 900. He's had some fucking farts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know what? Who the fuck is perfect?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that, with all due respect, Mike Mantor, who was a good friend, there's no way that Vince thought that was going to get over. I just can't imagine Vince going. I think Vince sometimes just did shit just to do it.
I'm going to
put a bull fucking head on that guy. Let's make him look like a dick.
I'm going to be very cynical about it, considering what Mike had told us about Scott Hall and everything. I'm pretty damn sure that they did it to him as a joke.
Yeah, you might be right. To
me, it's like, man, that's so not cool, but that's what they did. Not good. And by the way, let me throw this in because we're talking about missing Vince McMahon and how someday people will realize. This is a little out of left field, so stay with me. I can't stand when people say that, these athletes are so superior, like Babe Ruth could never play today. Let's do the reverse. Let me ask you a question. How do you think that these made of gelatin fucking athletes today, how do you think any one of these baseball players would do if you dropped them into the 1920s traveling schedule with the heavy wool uniforms and the heavy bats and the dead balls, and the guys around you are willing to go to war, win a medal, and come back and win the MVP? You're surrounded by real men. How do you think that would work for them?
Jimmy, I got to give you a lot of credit tonight. Your counterpoints, or you know what? I'm one of those guys that say that Babe Ruth wouldn't be so great in today's era, but when you put it like that, I don't think Barry Bonds, Aaron Judge, the list, they go into the major leagues back then. I agree with you. Do you think that, Kurt Schilling could have pitched 15 innings straight? Right? You're right. You're right. I can't argue that.
The way they were. Now, I will say that I think Kurt Schilling was psychotic enough and tough enough to probably find a way to exist back in those days, oddly enough.
Because why? Because he had a bloody sock? Fuck that guy.
I got to be honest. Way before the bloody sock, I was screaming for the Yankees to get this guy when he was on the Phillies. I loved his makeup. I thought he was a psycho, and I thought that he never took no for an answer, and I loved his competitiveness. So it's not 2020 coming from me. Trust me. I think he would have been okay in the caveman days is what I'm getting at. I think a lot of players would have been like crying for their mommy. Jose Canseco would have been like, I can't do this.
You know what? When you put it like that, if you put him in different eras, you know what I mean?
I can't do this. Ted Williams was a fighter pilot. He went off and won medals and came back. It was still great. They don't.
Do you think Tom Brady could have played back in the 70s NFL?
No, you know what's funny too? I just saw an old interview with Jack
Wait,
Lambert.
let me. I don't mean to
Go ahead.
interrupt you here. So again, we're Jet fans, and Jimmy and I many times have said, when you really look at Joe Willie Namath's stats, he really was not a very good quarterback.
He was for that period.
But I will say this:
He was for
when
that
you
period.
watch that documentary on Joe Willie Namath,
Uh-huh.
the late hits,
Oh
the
God.
fucking knee shots,
Murdered him.
all the guy was getting murdered. So
Murdered.
now,
Murdered him.
respectfully, as he got more popular in the league
Mm-hmm.
got smart and said, "Don't like." The defensive players on the other team were told, "Don't fucking fuck with this guy. We need to
They
keep him
did
on the
though.
fucking field."
They still did. I've seen
No, but
later
there were
videos.
points, Jimmy, that I actually I'm trying to think who was the guy in the Colts, the big guy.
There was several big guys on the Colts.
You know
I
what I'm
know you're
talking
probably
about,
talking
though.
about Art Donovan or somebody like that.
No. He was on the Brady bunch too. God damn it, I can't fucking remember.
Oh, what? Bubba Smith?
Bubba Smith.
Go ahead.
Bubba Smith said that if someone went rogue on their team and even just tackled Joe Willie later on his career, the shit would hit the fan.
Well, I agree with that because, like you said, Joe became monetarily the poster boy for the NFL AFL merger. Joe was the biggest star during his time. So I can agree with that, but keep in mind that Bubba Smith was part of the Oakland Raiders that Joe Namath hated the most, and
Right?
that was the team that crippled him. They
Yeah.
crippled him. They
Yeah.
crippled it from 1965 to 1969 over at Shea Stadium and down in Oakland.
Yeah.
Oof. They were the nastiest going. They were. So no, to get back to your question, how would Tom Brady do back in even the 70s? I saw Jack Lambert interview from back in the day. He was part of the Steel Curtain Hall of Famer and a beast. So they asked him, and this is 1977, I think. They said, well, these quarterbacks are trying to petition to the NFL to have more calls go their way and less hits. What do you think about that? You know what Jack Lambert said? He goes, I think the quarterbacks need to all get some dresses.
Mm.
That's what he said.
But then
So,
again,
yeah.
just like with the
Joe Namath today would have
NBA,
Aaron Rodgers numbers.
you might be right. So
Because Joe
again,
Namath wouldn't be getting touched.
when
Joe Namath
we
had a great arm. He had the quickest release, and you can. There's quotes from Don Shula, everybody. Joe Namath, the thing that made him greater than everybody was his release. He had the fastest release he could process, and bang, it was gone. It was gone. And he had arm strength, and he had precision, And he threw a lot in the later days because he always threw, and the teams weren't as good, and he was crippled at that point.
It's a great
You
point.
know. But
All
from
right, Jimmy.
1965 to 69, there wasn't a quarterback in the world that was better than that guy.
I
That's what
agree.
he was doing.
All right, Jimmy, send us out. I want to thank everybody for joining us Thursday night. Next week, me and Jimmy will be at the big event. We're gonna have quite a few interviews, so it's gonna be a loaded show. Got some good stuff going on, so it's gonna be great. Jimmy, do you want to send us out, pal? I want to thank everybody for joining us.
All right, everybody. You've been watching Monty and the Pharaoh. Until next week, maggot. Later.
Couple things I want to cover, Jimmy.
Yeah.
500 level has now improved on the M&P code. Now go to MP30 for 30% off. Jimmy, I got to tell you something, right? I was at the beach again, 500 level. If you guys haven't looked at the shirts, right, go to the website. It's incredible. And I got to be honest, right? So it was a little chilly today. I brought the dogs to the beach. I was off work for the Jewish holidays,
today.
right?
It was
cold,
yeah.
but I have from 500 level, I have a Roman Reigns sweatshirt. Now, usually sweatshirts are not always the nicest fabric, unless I'm into really nice fabric because I just don't like things up against my skin. So usually I'll get thinner type of shirts, but this is a heavy sweatshirt. The fabric, unbelievable. And you're going to get a deal at 30% off, Jimmy. I mean, my God, it's a no-brainer, guys. I am telling you, once you get one shirt from them, you'll get 50. I guarantee it. And they've got all the sports. Yeah, dude, tell me what you think of it, Jimmy.
They're so comfortable. I got to get a long sleeve now. I'm telling you, I got to, because it was chilly today, especially for a guy who's been in Panama City Beach the last 2 years. It was chilly today, and I love the material. It's so silky. Is that the right word for it? I don't know.
No,
It feels
absolutely, absolutely, dude.
it's so comfortable. So yeah, I got to get myself some leveled long sleeves. That's for sure.
And
30%
again,
off,
it,
no
it
brainer.
doesn't. They got plenty of wrestling stuff. They got baseball
Yeah,
stuff. They've got football. They got everything, dude. MMA. They got it
yeah,
all, man. And I'm
yeah.
telling you, it's very high quality. Again, 500 level code MP30, 30% off. So if a
Nice.
T-shirt costs you
That's
$20, what's
huge.
30% off on
Yeah,
$20, dude?
it's enough. 10 plus another 20% tacked on top. Not much. It's a steal. It's a steal.
I agree. I want to remind everybody too, the Monty and the Pharaoh show, hit the QR code, be willing to check out our shows on YouTube, where we got almost 24,000 subscribers. Go to our Facebook page where we're approaching 27,000 subscribers. And again, if you feel like donating to the show, please go to the Monty and the Pharaoh webpage, hit donate. Helps us bring in more guests. Trying to entertain Jim. We've got the big event coming up, so a lot of good stuff happening right now.